All right, welcome back, everyone. We are here for a little bit of a wash-up of the recent Western Sydney Wargamers tournament that we all played at a couple of weeks ago. Got Alex and a Chaos Alex and Alasdair, who's a friend of the pod as well, but also the winner of the tournament. We'll do a general wraparound of vibes and experience and, challenges of tournament Warhammer and all that kind of stuff. But we should probably start with the winner, the man of the moment, Alasdair. He took his Dark Elves with a Black Dragon and went 3-0, tied with Alex, brother Alex, that is, actually, but won on Countback. But Alasdair, give us your vibe. How did your list perform? What were the standout moments? And was it just the dragon that won you the tournament?
That's a really loaded question. Thank you. Yeah, it was I suppose both of the last two events have been fabulous from an organizational standpoint, from, the quality of the tables, the terrain, the way that they've organized it, the way that they've put the event together. It's been fantastic. And this particular event was, if anything, better than the first in all of those respects. So, the event itself, it helped. I think Michael's original decision to set up that WhatsApp group, we're building a community. There's a lot of banter going back and forth. Everyone felt really comfortable. It felt like a really nice environment. There were still new people there, but it sort of still gave everyone the feeling of being connected. So it felt like a really comfortable day. It felt like everyone had a great time. As far as I'm concerned, I did have a good time. The dragon that I brought, for anyone who's unfamiliar with it, was a Dreadlord dragon with Shield of Grond, Pendant of Caliph, and Sword of Might. So between the weapon skill 7 of the Dreadlord, the 4+ ward save against anything that mattered, and the -1 strength against everything, the dragon, it performed just about as expected. I put it in one or two hairy situations, and it performed the way that I wanted it to. My opening game was undead, or vampire counts, I should say. And yeah, the dragon was very comfortable in that matchup with a Terrorgeist, which they went for each other first turn. Won that matchup off combat resolution more realistically than anything else, and unstable. And then proceeded to sort of charge through the rest. I wouldn't say that my total success either in that game or everything else was down to the dragon. It certainly helped. I actually feel that the dragon ended up having more of a psychological impact than an onboard impact. The way I played, so Scott in the first round with his vampire counts played Chaos Alex, who's here with us this evening, in the second round. And I played Paul with his Bretonnian Exiles in the third. And I feel of the three, Scott and Paul both played good games and they were a pleasure to play with. But of the three, only Alex really knew how to play around a dragon and did so. Paul admittedly, he said himself he wanted to see the Baron versus Dragon showdown, and that's why he sort of set up that encounter for our third game. But he could have very easily danced around my dragon, destroyed my entire list, and walked away with a win. To be perfectly honest, the drawbacks of a dragon are big, but the psychological impact is equally big. So had a great time. Had three lovely opponents. My middle opponent, Alex, is just, play him enough that it's okay to play him in a tournament environment. I will reiterate my utter hatred for Skinwolves, but yeah, it was a fabulous day. It was very enjoyable. I can say that both as the winner and just in general. It was a really, there's your Skinwolves. It was a really enjoyable day. And it was great to see so many other people having such a fantastic time as well.
Congratulations on the win. Don't take the
Thank you.
zest of my question on the dragon too harshly. I don't think there was two other dragons and the Terrorgeist, I think, in the 20-man lineup, and the other dragons didn't come close. So, it's not a gimme, and you definitely had some, lists that could deal with it. Alex, this is your army. You played Alasdair in the second round. you guys walked away with an 11-9 to Alasdair, so it really could have changed the
11-10.
landscape. Oh, 11-10.
11-10,
was,
Paddy,
yeah.
because I
As
managed to
close
score
as
a
it
point.
gets.
If I'd had one more rank, it would have been a draw.
Well,
But, you know,
yeah, go on, sorry.
well, I was going to say, um, when you're playing a dragon, couple of pointers, never put a character in a unit unless you're a dwarf king that does an immense amount of wounds. Because anything juicy, you want that, especially a wizard, dancing around it. And Alistair said, I think we've played that matchup 10 times before. So it was just about avoiding the dragon, using skirmishes to get around it and go fast in those regards. But the event, I must say, I was getting the flack for the dragon guy. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the big bad Dark Elf Dragon won, and it's a brutal dragon. I think we all went into that day thinking that Alistair had a absolute opportunity to take out top spot, and he did face some hard lists. We'll count mine as soft, soft.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
With a potential hard boundary of knowing how to get around the dragon. Paul's list, yeah, could have swung either way on you, but it doesn't take away from the fact that, yeah, you have to know how to pilot the dragon to win. It's not just a point and click like people make it out to be.
Yeah.
In all fairness, my game versus Paul could have gone very differently, given that he did get a Monster Slayer roll
Because of
with his
this
Baron
moment.
against.
This moment
So
Mm.
right
this
here, right?
this was actually I didn't
Oh, is
manage
that
to get a
the
photo of the
We heard it.
Baron.
Everyone
No,
heard it. Everyone heard
yeah,
it.
I didn't get a photo of the Baron against the Dragon. This is the Paladin versus the Dragon, which was a
yeah.
slightly less even matchup. But the Baron got a Monster Slayer roll, and it was a 50-50 dice roll to see where that went. And it ended up in my favor. And as expected, the Baron didn't last long following
Yep.
that. So it could have been a really different game and a really different outcome. The tools were there for a lot of lists to be able to deal with it. There was still plenty of Bretonians running Monster Slayer. There were plenty of things that could have dealt with it. And very nearly did, I suppose, in my game, but it just came down to that 50-50 dice roll.
In the background there, you can see Alex tentatively grinding out a 17-3 against Dave. God bless him on table two at the end. But Alex, was that pose there a common theme for you throughout the day? How did you find the taxing element of playing three back-to-back tournament games? As I said, you came tied first, so you obviously did well. But how was the day for you?
Yeah, my games were like in terms of mentally taxing, probably started harder and got easier. So I had three really different games. We'll have the battle reports come up. Um, I guess against Adam, it was a sort of a grind in many ways. Like the plan that I had didn't come off. He popped to the Monster Slayer on my Griffin at the end, which was pretty funny. A couple of times, the first ward bounced it off, and then that drawish game, but the scenario points against Rico. So I won technically, but it was based off scenario points. And then in the end, yeah, just a shellacking in the last round. Couldn't it all went my way. Couldn't have gone any harder my way. So yeah, it was good. It was that this sort of event. It is great value. I know there'll be news coming out on what they plan to do next. But it is just great. I didn't notice anything like throughout. I was probably distracted because of that, but I was happy with the way the army played. Still a believer in 1,500 points. I think the GW comp is good, but I like 1,500. I think that's it. Like 4 out of the 6 games I've played have ended now, and one of the other ones was end of turn 5. So
Mm.
I'm interested to see what happens next. But I guess, Paddy, this was yours. Where by now, when this goes live, we'll have heard in detail about the vibes of the first tournament. But you were happy with what you played in the end?
Yeah, I was. Sorry, can you still see my screen there? Or no? You
It's
could.
all good.
Sorry. Yeah, sweet. I had a really great time, to be honest. I had three really
And
good
this was
games.
your first event, right? This was
It
your first
was.
event.
Yeah, it was. And the first game, I was going into it like not nervous, but just unsure of what to expect with like the social interaction. I guess you can get unlucky or lucky with depending on who you get paired up with, especially for your first tournament if you're unaware. But I got very lucky. Got paired up against Dave, who he's only had one game, I think, maybe two.
He played versus
Against
me,
Yeah, he
and
did a
that was
test
his
match.
first game of the old
Yeah.
world,
Yep.
and then he played you.
Yeah, but I think I know that he's an old time player, so he wasn't like a brand new Warhammer player. So his knowledge of the rules was good. He had a great, you know, not aura, but he was like friendly. And we worked out rules discrepancies and we're communicating clearly and stuff. I think I probably slowed it down a bit at the start, which maybe hurt in the end, but I think overall the day was great and I'm very excited for the next one. And I was not a skeptic, but just uncertain of what competitive Warhammer world is like. And it is really fun. Um, as Alex and I kind of talk about in any of our conversations, we play competitive when we play against each other. So it was almost a step down from what I'm used to, which is good because there was a bit more social interaction of just like, this is a brand new person I've never met before. So all three of my opponents, including Alex, Chaos Alex, were friendly and knew that it was, you're sharing 2.5 hours with someone. You don't want it to be a pain in the ass for one of them. So, yeah, overall, my experience was great, I'd have to say.
My slow play tactics of going and getting a coffee at halfway through the game clearly didn't work because we still finished the game in
Exactly.
time against your Wood Elves. Was anyone else pleasantly surprised when we turned up and the forest objective in the middle was two forests
Yeah.
Yeah,
together?
that was nice. But I suppose it was if we'd actually spent some time thinking about it properly, we would have recognized that there were 6 pieces of terrain on every other map. And just because that map consolidated one as far as an icon goes, doesn't mean that there's not going to be 2 pieces of terrain behaving as one in the middle. Suppose take that as an us learning for future instances. But Michael, if you're watching, maybe pop 2 on there the next time.
This is that
like
first board, by the way. If you can see it, you can see that our forest is huge and it makes it worth, like it plays a role. It's not this tiny little monument. It's like an actual thing you have to interact with.
Which was
Paddy,
hugely...
on your wood elf forest, mate. You got to pack some more trees into there.
No, they're there. It's just because
there's one.
No, there's 2.
there's
Left
2.
the L shape at home.
Yeah, I left the 1-inch L shape at home because I knew there weren't any green.
Have you got a
ones.
shot of? I heard about the steering wheel. Is that we don't have a picture?
I don't have the steering wheel. Sorry, no.
Okay.
The dinner plate.
The dinner forest. It'd be good. I was planning on less foliage to shoot, but yeah, so I was a bit disappointed, and that was probably like the finicky nature of the first game. Couldn't shoot everything.
No, I loved it. Loved it.
I think
Absolutely loved it.
I think it's worth pointing out just something that you said, Paddy, just around your expectations for this particular tournament and how they ended up sort of shaping up with the opponents that you had and the experience that you had. It really emphasizes how important having a consistent community and conversation around this is. So, as I mentioned before, there is a WhatsApp group going for this sort of tournament to be inclusive, to share progress in terms of painting, to have a bit of a chat, to banter back and forth and complain about everything that Alex is doing. But it's really highlighted comparing this to other bigger events, so bigger competitive events like your CanCons or your Moabs or really big, large events that draw people from all different communities. Those can feel definitely a lot different to what this one did. And I just feel that it makes it more clear to me that the more community that we build around this, and you guys are obviously a big part of this for our particular scene, but the more community that we build around this, the better these events get for everybody. The less tension there is, the more interest there is, the better the attitudes and the experience of all the players that come along.
I think that's a key point, right? Like the social scene for the second time around was much more comfortable because we were
Mm,
all, apart from a few of us, effectively strangers, going in, or maybe reconnecting after like 10 years, going
mm.
into those things. So I totally agree with that, which is the fact that when you have a high quality of organization, high quality terrain, time maintenance is key at these
Mm.
events. And we finish. I feel like we almost finished ahead of time, almost the whole event, to get people home. And there's so many events where I'll be home at 6:30 and you're home at 8 o'clock because the games have blown over. It's just not happening here, which is a great thing for the team to be proud of. Again,
Yeah, I hope they
Yeah,
keep going with it. It's hard to sort of argue how it gets better. I mean, you'd like people's rules knowledge to become easier, but the game is like all over the joint with rules.
Mm.
Like I don't think some of the things that have been uncovered have straightforward answers anyway, and you're starting to see across the world that people interpret things like the
Mm.
Horn of Isha. For the
yep.
love of God, I couldn't believe that there was another way of reading that. And you find out that that's sort of the consensus in the place where they play Warhammer the most. But
Mm.
yeah, it'd be interesting. I really do appreciate getting home on time. It makes it easier to go to those things. And I'm surprised, Alex, you're getting home at 8. I used to go, oh yeah, I'll be home at 8 and it'll be home at 1 a.m. It's just, yeah, like to pull it back, like you got to just call it at some point. And I appreciate Michael is very decisive with that sort of thing. Like it's got to run smoothly. It's still going to be an experience at the end of the day. Um, yeah, I think it's going well. Hopefully, it keeps going that way.
I just want to echo the terrain and board state makes a massive difference. I'll just show you some more photos from the day. Because like this board in particular, although semi-impractical because of all these like rivets in it, but like it was top notch. It had these like
Yep.
lava flows through it and stuff. The terrain matched. So the board, like my forest stands out annoyingly. But you've got red terrain on a red board and like it just makes the game feel so much better. And your backyard games have a place for sure, and homemade terrain is a thing. And these are painted and homemade as well, but it to a very good standard, and it makes the game so much more enjoyable.
It really, I mean, you just have to give the credit to the guys who've spent so much time painting and organizing Michael and everybody else. Like I'm sure I've seen progress pictures from a few of them in that WhatsApp chat of them just grinding through that terrain in
20
preparation for
hills.
this. It is such commitment to be a TO and approach this. We've done it in the past, Alex and I, and we did not have this level
We never
of
made
commitment,
terrain.
quite frankly. We asked people to bring stuff, but that led to the eclectic mess that you get sort of
Yeah.
at some other tournaments. But this is absolutely just one of the highest quality approaches for a relatively amateur group who've just started sort of approaching this. It turns the experience when you've got painted armies on the board, on maps and board where the terrain suits, where everything looks really nice. It turns it from just being we're playing a game of Warhammer into what is really the spirit of the game. Of this is really cool at times to see this sort of clash in an environment that suits it, where you've got these beautifully painted miniatures running up their bases against one another and you're rolling a lot of dice. It's so nice.
And the hobby's increasing too, like display boards are now appearing,
Mm.
Yeah.
which is a natural element. So come the next event, whenever that may be, it's going to be, well, I expect there to be even more attention, social competition between the hobbyists among us to make sure that, we're upping one another. Maybe printing an extra giant spawn, twice the size of Alex Brown's giant spawn to make sure.
That's going to be
Uh,
tough.
I don't think mine is that. I think that's bigger. Mine's wider. It's gonna be rough playing
Alistair
it.
accuses me of specifically and purposefully printing it to be a half inch bigger than his black dragon.
It's just one of those things when I ask Alex to print something for me, he's like, I'll just scale it down to 92%. I'll just scale it down. It looks so much better. And it leads to some suspicious results. Yeah.
People are pulling it out. They're pulling out all stops. I think some of the older armies are coming out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
prints, and that's if there are people who watch this from overseas, but we don't get the same access to GW products. I'm a detractor, but other people aren't, and are definitely in it for whatever Games Workshop puts out, and we just don't get what everyone else gets. So, yeah, I think it's good. People are putting the effort. I thought there wasn't like the painting. I'm a big pusher of everything should be painted, but Michael said that everything was mostly painted and was more painted than last time. So hopefully next time it's completely painted because it doesn't make any difference. And I feel like it's the difference between some of the other events that are being thrown out there. The aesthetic experience is a part of the game.
Were there only two armies this time that had unpainted miniatures? I think there was only the Chaos Dwarves and I'm trying to remember who else.
Adam, I played didn't have that much. I'm happy to help you out, Adam, if you want. There's not long to go. Blue and yellow. Yellow is tough on a black undercoat, but yeah, I don't know if there was much more. So
I feel like there might have only been the two, which out of a field of 20 is huge.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So like hopefully that and like people are starting to you think I don't know if people no one really left early, did they? Maybe Keith had to leave early and that's why they did the award.
Yeah, I think Keith and Dave
Keith
both had to leave
Dave
a little early, but I think everyone else was there right to the end.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a comparison between Keith's ranking. I mean, he was bang on the money for Alasdair, put that right. And I think he actually got me right too.
He did, yeah.
I think he got himself right, even though I backed him in. As if you're going to be on table 9 and 10. It's there, first round. Yeah, anyway.
What did you guys think of the objective focus that Michael and the guys ran? So for anyone who wasn't aware, there were 2 games where you could capture extra battle points, one by controlling this center terrain in the middle, and then the other one was 1 point per table quarter that you controlled, and you needed a rank bonus to control it. Did you guys, I know Alasdair, your first game, it was a bit of a whitewash anyway, but I suppose to the whole group, did anyone think that it had an effect on the game in terms of strategy, whether or not points were divvied up at the end, but like people aiming to get them?
It very nearly, as Alex has pointed out, got him a draw in the second round. Very, very nearly. There was 150 points between us, which was only 2 battle points at the end result. And if he'd had one more unit with a rank, he would have drawn that off that battle point. So I think it was hugely important and sort of displayed the intent behind it, which was, to potentially penalize armies with a big unit with a lot of points sunk into it, as opposed to armies or multi-skilled units of 4 or 5 models. It takes away from them in an effort to try and give back to armies that are slightly more thematic. And I wouldn't necessarily call it Alex's thematic, but that's neither here nor there. But in the first game, I certainly heard a couple of people comment about how important it was to end up in control of that forest. And certainly as far as rankings go, I think the additional battle points had an enormous impact.
I scored them in game 1, and it was only 1 in game 2, but probably the commentary was for some armies like ogres, it's not the best. So well, you had the choice, Glade Guard. You could bring Glade Guard.
I did.
To the same degree. But I really like it. It's a way of changing again the typical list building, and I'm a strong believer in local meta to be a thing. I know that international scenes can inform the meta that's happening around, if we even want to use that term for what we're experiencing at our level. But adding this additional flavor means that, yeah, you can bring the meta list if you want, but as Alistair said, it could have very easily have swung in another direction where if I'd had lots of ranked units on that map, or if he had played another opponent, perhaps, which did have a lot of
Definitely.
ranked units and could go for a draw or a minor win, that could have. Paddy, in our game, I wish we'd played in the second round
I
because I
bet,
think I
yeah.
would have had a better point, easier time scoring points.
Yeah. Alex, your second game was decided on it as well, right? You were heading down the barrel of a draw, and then we spoke about this. I'm not sure if we spoke about it on camera or not, but the strategy of taking a unit of skirmishers that can reform into open order to get the +1 rank bonus.
Mm.
You did that with 2 units of sisters on your second game, right? To get 2 bonus points.
Yeah, yeah. So it would have been a draw otherwise, but I could take 2 table quarters and Rico could only take 1. And we were both missile-based armies to an extent and playing meeting. Is it meeting engagement? Yep, meeting engagement.
Yeah.
So he couldn't catch, he was probably winning at the start of the game, but I could get away from him and was able to take. So definitely won. It would have been a draw for sure at best for me, and I won because of the scenario. First game, I think Adam contested them early, and I had to sort of just deal with it and make sure he didn't get the points. I think if it had gone to 6 turns, I would have got them, but there was things that happened in the 4th turn that I wouldn't have been able to predict, like whether the Duke was going to die or not. So it had an effect on the strategy of the first game. Like I had to go for it to stop him from getting them. So yeah, it's interesting because in the last game I could only get 17 points. So that's interesting in itself. Like whether or not, like I think, like to be fair, I think Alasdair smashed his opponents more than I did overall. So being as close as I was probably I was surprised to tell you the truth when the points were added up. But I think it was like when I knew I could only get 17, I was like, oh my God, I feel like poor Dave, like I've just destroyed him. Like I should be able to get 20x out of this game. And so I think it was good. Like, I'm playing a gamey sort of one of the armies you'd consider maybe less fun to play against, less Warhammery at the moment. So, if it's going to encourage people to sort of it's sort of really soft comp in a way. So we'll see what they come up with next. But I had no problem with it. It made it a little bit more interesting, and it was harmless in ways too. It didn't stop anyone from doing anything different.
I think just with the battle points as well, if you are not potentially winning the tournament, and again, if it's only 3 games, if you have 20 plus players, you're really going for a 3-win, 0 to score. If you want to place in that top 10, you need to be scoring battle points even if you're losing. So the +1, again, the game in Alistair, or even if you're losing but you get the +3, that's going to help you in the end rankings to go 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, etc. And by the way, there were a lot of draws this event, a surprising amount of draws.
Yeah, well, I went for it against Adam for that sake. That I got like it was a very strange game, and the battle report will come up, but I send my Griffin into the thing with Monster Slayer to try to win big. And even though like it's one of those 65 percenters, it didn't come off. And I don't know what it would have been, like maybe +2 or +3, the difference in the end, but
Yeah.
that's the way it goes. And it's interesting because, yeah, you do have to think overall, and certainly in the second round, played that way to just save points. I thought, I might lose this. I'll just go down 11-9 or 12-8 and see if I can pull it back in the last round, and ended up sort of getting out of it because of the scenario.
Yeah,
I've only
so
got a
I hope
couple.
they keep it in. I hope they keep it in. Maybe change the rank bonus thing to, I don't know, unit strength or something, whatever they want to do in the next pack. But 100% make sure that you're building your list. If you're not building some gimmicky list like the boys in this chat did, go
What do you
for a
mean, skin
balanced
wolves?
list like I had, of course.
Are you talking about the skin wolves again?
I think it was the skin wolves.
What was everyone's favorite unit? Quick 10 second shout. I guess it's a dragon for you, Alistair.
No, it's the cold ones. It's the cold ones, hands
Failing the
down.
stupidity test. At
I
least
think
once a
they
game.
still managed it doing it off leadership 10. They still manage to fail stupidity at least once in every game. Once at a really important point in my game against you, which changed the way that you were able to approach me entirely. But the cold ones, there's so much meat to them. They're toughness 4 with a 2+ armor save and weapon skill 5. I got flank charged by the unit of Pegasus Knights, the unit of 4 Pegasus Knights with a Paladin. And I walked away from that charge where he struck with everything first, walked away still with 4 Cold One Knights out of 9. Nothing should survive that. From the Pegasus charge with that Paladin. Nothing should survive it. They did. They bought me the chance for the dragon to come in and wipe that unit out. So in the first game, they chewed through plenty of undead. In our game, they did nothing. But in the third game, they were a champion unit. And looking forward, the more I play Dark Elves into the future, it's going to be a mainstay. Cold War Knights.
What about you, Paddy? What'd you have?
My level 4 Warhawk, honestly, is, I think, unkillable if I don't stuff up. Anything in my army with evasive just seems very, very strong, which they definitely need it because toughness 3, no armor. I'll have it on my tombstone if I have to, but that is a killer. So I've managed to figure out how to use evasive properly with distances and coupling it with the Oaken Stave, the spell range with the level 4. He's just a beast.
How does evasive work with cannonballs?
I'm yet to find out. Chaos Alex, outside of your skin wolves, I presume it's your skin wolves. What else?
Giant spawn.
Skin wolves. Giant spawn. Yeah.
Giant spawn. I mean, it literally face tanked Alasdair's dragon for 3 combat phases.
It should. To be fair, I rolled like 1 or 2 stomps on every one of those. If I'd have rolled 6, it would have died in the first round.
It's a dice game for a reason.
Turn.
Random movement, random attacks.
Kid dragon player complains about stomp roll in the head. If I'd rolled 6 stomps.
Alex.
Dragons.
Alex, we've got a little bit left.
Not long.
Yeah. What was your superstar unit?
I mean, the sisters are the mainstay, but you get used to it. The glory of 85 special rules all the way through. So yeah, the mage is more fun. Finishing by monster slaying something was great. So I like the unit. It's flexible. I'll probably keep playing it if I play high elves. So it was the most fun unit throughout the day.
I hope I never play them again. Guys, thank you very much for joining us again. Alasdair, congrats on the win. Alex,
thank you.
Congratulations for tied second. And Alex, congratulations for ripping me off 165 points in my final game and having to go to the scorers table and count it back.
Talking about the giant spawn, we just went to the biggest unit we forgot to include. It's fine. We fixed it up in post. In post.
Anyway,
delete that part of the video.
Yeah, thank you for a fantastic event, and we will be seeing you there for the next one. And everyone, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.